without further ado, Mr. Paul Lance, who wrote Just Tell Me How It Works.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So one of the things that you may experience is technology is overwhelming. We're constantly inundated by not only new devices, but the change that keeps happening with it and becomes very, very overwhelming. I want to give you a little bit of a background of where I came from and what we're going to be talking about today. My background, I was at 20th Century Fox for 20 years, and it's a very large media company. And what I noticed is as all of this technology started to unfold, even the people in media companies were overwhelmed by the technology. And where do you go for answers? So what I did, I'm going to show you now. What I did was I wrote a book called Just Tell Me How It Works. And this covers the entire digital landscape. So it's about everything digital. It not only includes computers and the devices, television sets, remote controls, the basic stuff. How do you use it? So that's what's here. And now I'm come to talk to you, and I was trying to figure out, well, what can I talk to you about that when you leave here, you'll leave with just a little piece of information? So what I'm doing is I'm going to cover 4 things. The first thing I'm going to cover is passwords and security. The second thing is I'm going to give you some tips on how to stay connected. The third thing I'm going to talk about is social networking, and I'm going to give you my Goldilocks theory of social networking. And then the fourth thing, believe it or not, within this half hour, I'm going to show you 4 simple things to do if you wanted to build your own website. So the first thing concerns security. What I'd like to talk to you about is how to create an easy to remember, a great password. There are 3 things to know on it. The first thing is to find a song title or a catchy phrase. The second thing is take the letter I and turn it into the number 1, and take the letter O and turn it into a 0, so that your I's become 1s and your O's become 0s. And then if you really want to get fancy with it, add 2 digits, either the month or the year that you were born or your kids were born. So it'll look like this. Nike has a phrase, just do it. Now what you do is you take the O's and you turn it to the number 0, and you take the I's, and it suddenly becomes this. Now you know what it is, but suddenly it looks very sophisticated. And let's say you were born in May of '59, you tack the 05 in the beginning and the 59 at the end, and suddenly you know the phrase, which is just do it, but suddenly if you look at it, it becomes a very complex password, but it's not at all. Another way that you can possibly do is take the Rolling Stones Satisfaction, and then again, if you change the I to a 1, the O to a 0, it suddenly becomes a password that if you look at it becomes complex, but it's not. And again, if you add the month and year, it becomes even longer. Now, what I want to stress to you is make it a short phrase or a song. In other words, if my favorite song is I'm Dreaming of a White Christmas, don't take that, because you're going to be spending your entire life typing in your password no matter how good it is. So find something that's very short. It could be a phrase, it could be a song title. That's going to give you a complex password. Now the question may arise, well, what is secure? I mean, we look and banks are being hacked and corporations are being hacked, and it seems like every time you pick up the newspaper, somebody is hacking it. Probably the most secure is what's known as two-tier authentication. I mention that simply because you may run across it And it is the most secure way at the moment. And what two-tier authentication requires is something you know, which is your password, and then some of you may have already experienced it. It's like you log on, they ask for your password and you give it, and then what happens is they text you a 4-digit code into your phone, and then you enter the phone. So in order for somebody to steal your information, they would first of all have to have your password, and that's possible, but at the same time they would have to have your phone. Two-tier authentication is annoying at first, but when you realize that it will make your life secure, it's really a valuable thing. Now I'm going to tell you about my mother. My mother used to tell me, you should only do it this way. Only one way. I am now going to tell you a secret that I use, and I hope that you use it too. There are a number of free online services that will let you create an email account. Gmail is the most popular. AOL is just in the news. There are a lot of very popular sites. You do not have to only have one email. My mother would have one email. You do not have to have an email. One of my favorite actors is Paul Newman. I have a Yahoo account that is Paul Newman 12345, something like that. And so what I do is when I go onto websites that I want information, and websites are constantly asking you to sign up, what I do is I go onto the website that I don't want their junk mail. I was going to say crap. I don't want any of the stuff that they're going to give me. And I sign up with the Paul Newman account. So as far as Pepsi.com is concerned, as far as, pick your website. You don't want their junk mail, but you do want some of their information. Sign up with, create your own, take your favorite actor, add a few numbers, and then that's the site, that's the email address that you give for those sites so that you don't have it. So you have, I for example, have a paullance@gmail.com. That's the account that I use. And I don't give that away. So my inbox is not filled with junk. When I go to certain sites, I create a second or a third account. You may have a second account that's Paul Newman because you want to check it periodically. You may have Beyonce 6053, and that's the one. And you can check them every 3 to 4 months. You check it, you delete everything because you know you don't want it. And that's just a simple tip on how to manage your inbox, how to not get all of this junk mail cluttering in. So while we're on the subject of texting and emails and things like that, some things I want to at least put out to you. There is a certain etiquette. For example, there are people that you've run into who may capitalize everything. I don't know about you, but trying to read emails on any device is tough enough with my eyesight. And then to see it all capped, I need the capital letters and the small letters. So I avoid that. Also, just remember that texting, anybody who's tried to text, and you only need to do it one time, you're constantly misspelling, you're constantly back deleting. Just remember, if you're texting and it's important, you might want to wait until you're not on the road. Last thing I want to tell you on this is junk mail. I'm going to tell you a personal story. My wife and I were we were sitting in the house, and I get an email from Wells Fargo, and they had said, you you just did this. Click here if it's a problem. And you changed your password, I think it was. And I looked at it, and it was the most sophisticated email that I've ever seen. It had the Wells Fargo logo. It had everything was right. Even the email heading seemed to be from Wells Fargo. My wife was right there. I said to her, "Did you do anything on the Wells Fargo?" She said no. So we called Wells Fargo, and it was a fake email. So here is the tip to security. Here is, as best I can help you, this is the one thing to know. Trust your own judgment. If you think it's not right, it's not right. If you think there's something the matter, there's something the matter. Check it out. Be conscious. It's like walking around in a new city or a foreign city. You don't want to miss out on the opportunities, but you may not know where you are, and you want to just kind of be careful of where you're doing. The same thing is true with emails and with text. Just be careful of it. Remember that if you're getting a message with an attachment from Martha, it may not be your Aunt Martha. So just be cautious with that. Social networking is probably the most explosive thing to happen to it. How do you... I'm not going to tell you how to operate it because I think people already may be using it, but I want to put it in perspective. One of the things I try and do with the book is I try and tell people, what is it? In other words, anybody can figure out, once you've used it for a while, you can figure it out, but should I even bother using it? So I've come up with what I call the Goldilocks Theory of social networking. It's simple. Facebook is kind of like Mama Bear. And I'm not being sexist in this. I'm just suggesting that Facebook is family-oriented, friend-oriented. It's kind of hearth and home. There's LinkedIn, which is probably the number 2 in terms of social networking site. LinkedIn is a more business-oriented. If some of you are looking to start a new business, or if some of you want to continue old contacts, LinkedIn is kind of like Papa Bear, if you think of Papa Bear as the provider, the workforce. And then Twitter is Baby Bear. I have no boundaries, so I'm just going to tell you my opinion of Twitter. I think that anybody except for a Japanese Zen master who can write something coherent in 140 characters, it's beyond me. I cannot say anything intelligent in 140 characters. It is, every once in a while, I'm from back east, so I follow my University of Connecticut women's basketball team. Love my women's basketball team. And unfortunately, I get on their Twitter feed. And it's like suddenly I'll get an email, a little Twitter saying, "That was fabulous." What was fabulous? What are you talking about? And this slide, if you're paying any kind of attention and want to read it, you'll understand the reason Facebook is as popular as it is it has over 1 billion users. But understand when you're using it that it is an advertiser's dream. They want to pick up information about you. So just be careful. What you don't want to do, and again, talking about security and being aware of security, you don't want to say for the world to know, we're going to Florida next week, or we're going to the Caribbean next week. See you in a week. And everybody who's there suddenly knows, 123 Main Street, that's exactly where I'm going next week. LinkedIn is the #1 business site, as I suggested. It takes time to fill all that out so that if you're retired, you don't even really want to get involved with it. It's the kind of thing that goes into mothballs very quickly. And then Twitter, I've already expressed my opinion about it. What I also promised is I wanted to show you how simple it is to build your own website. 4 steps. First, you pick out a name for your website. It's like if I typed in www.pepsi.com, the domain name, the name is Pepsi. I have, for example, a paullance.com. My wife is a pet psychic, so she has an askmypet.com. So first of all, just take a piece of paper and write down possible names for your website. If you use your own name, chances are, unless your name is John Doe, chances are it may be available, but you might want to try more than one. Then you go to one of these websites. For example, Network Solutions is a large one. HostMonster and GoDaddy, you've probably seen the ads in Super Bowl, and they will let you check to see whether John Doe is available. So you type in John Doe, and it will say, sorry, no johndoe.com, but there is a johndoe.org. And then you say, well, org means organization, that's not me, or edu, but that's education, or... So you want to see if you can find the right one. And there are a lot of extensions that have now come out. So if you were a dentist and your name was John Doe, you could actually get a site called johndoe.dentist. So there are a lot of new extensions on this. And they also provide for you, let's say John Doe is taken, they would provide, John Doe may be taken, but John Doe 123 or John Doe Miami is free. So you look and you find it, and then you purchase the website. You purchase the domain name. Usually it costs $19, $29, give or take. Some of them are a little less. They run specials. It may cost you $9.95. And that allows you, that website is then yours for a year. So it is an annual renewal. All of those sites that you go to, for example, Network Solutions, HostMonster, they have free templates. So what I do is I take a yellow pad and I take out 5 or 6 pages and I say, all right, the first one's going to be my home page, the second one's going to be my family page, the third one, in other words, I kind of plot it out so that I say, all right, I need 4 pages to post all of this stuff. And then they give you the template, and all you do on that is fill in the blanks. So it requires a little bit of work, but it's free. They can change the style. It's really very handy. And then the last thing to do is you sign up for something called a web hosting service. And what that is that takes your name, John Doe, and then it puts it out there for people to get it. So hosting simply means we're going to provide the service that will allow your Facebook, for example, hosts your information out there in space. I'm going to show you this, and I'm going to talk about the future. So the book is available. I do recommend you can get it anywhere, at Barnes & Noble, any bookstore, or online Amazon. And then I throw this out in case you do want it. My email address is paul.lance@justtellmehowitworks. So I throw that in case you have questions that you want to ask after the fact, where you suddenly say, gee, I wonder about this. So thank you very much. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate that.